We were very thrilled and honored to be invited into the stage to talk to and walk you through what we believe. I mean, this is our passion. Obviously, we're brand consultants. We love brands, but we want to shift a little bit the perception around what a brand is, because according to the theme today, narratives, we feel brands are much more than just a logo. Usually we confuse and we think about brands in terms of identity, but we feel narratives and storytelling is the one thing that brands need to do the best and to offer immersive experiences. So we're going to walk you through what we have titled Future Brand Narratives in Tourism, okay? And how branding has changed and the world has changed after COVID. And just as we were talking about that reset in the world and how brands are also evolving in this context. Okay, so today I'll be walking you through this presentation, and with me, we will have a discussion with my fellow Michael and Pedro around some of the subjects I'm going to be tackling with this presentation. Okay, so bear with us. I'll try to be as quick as possible with this presentation then so we can have a proper discussion. Interbrand, well, yesterday we talked about that, and I'm going to stop here a lot, but basically we coined the term branding. We're the inventors of this. We've been around for many years, so this is just to tell you that we love brands, we have been around, we have been working with brands in many industries, and today we want to talk to you about the industries and how brands are competing outside industries more and more, and the brands that are performing better are the ones that are breaking the boundaries of industries. So we, as I said, been around working with many sectors, but especially obviously with, here are a few examples, whether it's a destination, a city, a museum, a country, a region, a province, destination brands and tourist brands have many faces. We tend to identify to as country branding, but there are many ways in which you can talk about brands. Lately, we've been working a lot with Saudi Arabia and many brands and tourism and destination brands in the country. So we're going to use some of these examples to tell you how we are evolving the way we work with brands. One thing is for sure, brands have never been as important as today. We, Interbrand, like to talk about the brands have gone through different ages. We at the beginning was a matter of identity, then brands evolved into being a valuable asset, and we invented brand valuation. We also stepped into a different era where experience brand, what was in the experience was the one thing that we started to feel immersive, and brands started to create experiences that felt relevant to the consumers, and then evolved into the interview. And this is when technology allowed the consumer to be empowered. So brands would shape their offer and their experiences around tailor-made experiences around the consumer. So, as we like to say, at the beginning, brands were identifiers, then brands started to become valuable assets, then experiences, and then ecosystems. So, and this was in the past, and this is cumulative over time, but what is the next era? What is the next phase? Where are brands heading towards, especially after this reset that we just, this disruption that the world has gone through? Again, identifiers, we all know destination brands and tourist brands, the most iconic ones, I love New York. This is a classic exercise of branding, but then we see, and we brought to you different examples of other brands have managed when we created this merger in between land from Chile and Tata from Brazil. We valued the brand, both brands, and made a model and created a brand proposition and a narrative that really merged these two brands into one single proposition that, considering those two brands as valuable assets. Then I'm sure if I show you this, you will think about one country. This would be obviously New Zealand. And this is, we love this because this is how a brand like a destination brand like New Zealand has managed to use Hollywood as a vehicle to promote an immersive experience of their brand. So this has been an iconic move for tourism, and we love to highlight this. And this is a perfect example of age of experience in brand tourism. Another example would be, and this is a case study, I would like to play a video. This is a Prince Agathoki hotel brand, and this is a brand that was crafted around a specific necessity of individual needs. So in this hectic world where business travelers are moving cities, they are looking for sanctuaries of peace, and leveraging the Japanese DNA of the brand, we created this experience. I'm going to play a video now so you will understand a little bit better the case study that perfectly exemplifies this age of you in brand.
せわしなくなち目まぐるしき立ち止まる間も休む間もなく流れ続ける私たちに必要な方を緩めてひとときひとときを感じられる場所なのです The name Akatoki comes from an ancient Japanese word for dawn because dawn marks a new beginning. At dawn, anything is possible.
Our approach was simple. It was to share the best of Japan with the rest of the world. Japan is a really incredible place where design is evidence certain elements of daily life, the craftsmanship, that obsessive attention to detail, and spaces that were built to create a sense of quiet mindfulness. To bring that to life, we based our design philosophy on consumer patterns, traditional Japanese sliding doors that literally move apart and redefine a space. What that means is when they open up, it's like an invitation for people to try something new.
Japan has its own distinctive style of hospitality. We like to think of it as service from the heart. It's about anticipating a guest's needs, sometimes before they even know it themselves. It's something we've been practicing for a long time.
When designing the interiors, we follow the Japanese philosophy of ma. It's the idea of finding balance and harmony by juxtaposing positive and negative space. We want our guests to walk into the Prince Agathoki and find a sanctuary.
Our hotel fuse Japanese and local culture to create a luxury experience. And they're made for you. From the moment you arrive, you are invited to slow down, breathe, and re-enter the world, feeling new again.
So this is what we call an immersive narrative and an immersive storytelling that really, this is a brand that is crafted around a necessity and ultimate insight from the consumer. We all live busy lives. Welcome to this Prince Agathoki Sanctuary of Peace, where we will celebrate Japanese culture. So this is what we call this branding. It's not so much about the name, the logo, or the colors, but rather the whole holistic experience that the brand is offering. So to our point before, brands have never been so important, but however, what we feel is their role has changed dramatically. What we see now is that consumers are moving faster than brands. We see that the society, technology has allowed consumers to be ahead of brands. So companies and brands are a little bit lagging behind and trying to be to deliver things that surprise. So that's the challenge for brands into the future. How are we going to be able to surprise, to do bold moves, and to do things that will engage us with the consumer? So for that, we have coined this idea of iconic moves. Brands in the future need to make iconic moves that will keep them ahead of the curve and always surprising customers and being ahead of customers' expectation. And to the degree that brands are capable of doing this, will be successful in capturing people's imagination and attention, right? So there are four effects to those iconic moves. You know, when we leap ahead of the customer expectations, we create a new normal, we force internal change, we create a monopoly window because we're going to be first movers, and ultimately we will drive extraordinary results. And a very good example of this is what we created for British Airways. Back in the day, having a flatbed on a business cabin was surreal, but now it's very normal. But this was an iconic move by a tourism brand like British Airways. You know, now everybody else followed, but then it gave them a window of opportunity and a monopoly window that will help them grow business and be ahead of the curve, as we said. You know, another example we work a lot with Middle East and Alula. You know, it's a destination brand that are doing amazing things. You know, so the whole nature of the environment. I don't know if you've been there, but it's a little bit like Petra in Jordan. You know, so all these caves, you know, all these pristine environment, this virgin environment of you know where you can submerge in the culture, and the way they are addressing this is a hotel by Unravel, which is carved into the stone. You know, this is how a brand is incorporating the DNA of the destination into the way they are developing facilities and infrastructures and hotels. So again, an iconic move by an iconic destination. So those two are good examples. So the question remains, you know, well, what's next in branding? You know, so what we feel is that we tend to talk more or less about positioning because if the customer is constantly changing and we need to be ahead of the curve, you know, to which degree having a brand position made us a little bit static, you know, so we should be something more dynamic. You know, brand should be less about where you stand and more about where you're heading towards. You know, so with this mantra and with this philosophy, this is the way we work, and this is the way we feel brand should be innovating. You know, we need to make sure that we understand where we're coming from and where we're going, and you know, connect those 2 points and make and populate the trajectory towards an ambition with iconic moves that will keep us ahead of the curve and making sure that our brand is constantly relevant into the future. You know, so this is the challenge for new brands, and those could be little narratives that will take us to the ultimate ambition that we have identified. And then we see a world with crisis. You know, what we have seen, you know, after working with many industries and many brands, you know, is that unsatisfied customer that is constantly moving and evolving is less and less reliant on governments and the media and NGOs. I mean, they don't trust so much the organizations they used to trust, you know, so they're turning into brands as references, as we call, you know, acts, as a reference of what the world should be doing, you know, so they request from brands and companies to deliver and to give back to society something in return. You know, so it's not only the brands need to grow their business, but what are you doing for me and what are you doing for society? You know, so with this premise, you know, at Interbrand we figure, you know, what would be the next step towards the future. So this is when we launch this age of possibility, you know, which will be the 5th page of the brand evolution, you know. So brands as acts of leadership, you know. So today brands need to be leaders, need to be inspiring, need to have a compromise with society, need to deliver beyond just business results. So we have moved, as you can see, across time, and this is for the last 80 years, you know, from brands being assets of marketing to assets of growth, and now assets of leadership. And this is quite important because it's a breaking point in brand history. And then brand leadership is also about doing things right, but also doing, you know, and delivering experiences. But then, and these are examples of how these brands are leading into this new era of branding. You know, so Lego, for example, they deliver amazing experiences, amazing storytelling, but then they also have this compromise with sustainability, So it's not only that they do amazing stuff, but they do it in a very responsible and leader way, So the way they build and they recycle and they use plastic in an inspiring way that really connects to what we believe brands should be doing, Others like Nike, so immersive interactions, Nike in the metaverse, but also making sure equality is also part of the equation, so incorporating women from different cultures and making sure that everybody is invited, So the brand again is doing amazing products and amazing services, but also having always this little bit of a compromise with the world. Airbnb, tourism brand, to some extent, it's not only about top of the walk, but walking the top. It's not only about how they have invented experiences, but how inclusivity is part of their equation. And they want to make sure that every bit of the service and product that they deliver have this incorporates its aspect of inclusivity. So it's true and it's unique to their DNA. And finally, doing things right, like Apple, obviously, the example we all love of a brand, but also doing the right things, with security. So I give you the best technology and the best iPhone and the best products, but also I'm making sure that you're protected. So this is the way I'm thinking about you, consumer, and this is the way I'm a leader. So that's how we see brands should be evolving. And so the question now is, which are the future brand challenges and threats? So what we see, and this is according to Professor Linda Maguro from Columbia Business School, thinking that your major competition is within your industry creates major blind spots, and this is something we have seen. For example, we may think that Avianca is competing with Iberia or Latam Airlines, but they might be competing with Zoom, because to which extent Zoom is detracting business possibilities from an airline because there will be people that will be traveling because they have Zoom as an alternative brand, So am I competing with brands within my industry, or am I competing with brands in other industries or other arenas, Again, a couple of examples, is Walt Disney World competing with other theme parks or with Oculus that could offer you immersive experience at home, So they will detract some part of the business out of your brand proposition. Or Booking.com, and this is a very recent example I just read in the news today, that Uber is launching a service that allows you to make reservations on cruises, So you can do that with Uber, and Uber is supposed to be not a tourism brand, right? So this is the danger and the threat. So from industries into arenas, this is how industries look like back in the day, and this is how arenas look like. Arenas are based on customer needs, specific customer needs, whether it's to explore, to thrive, to play, to move, instead of banking, airlines, tourism. So this is how we feel brands should be moving towards arenas. And this is a very good example of a brand that has understood this very well. They started out selling books, as we all know, but then they started populating their offer of products and services with different, whether it's video, whether it's music, whether it's supermarket, whether it's, distribution, whatever. And to the degree they have managed to expand their offering in different arenas, they've been able to make sure that the brand value and the business has grown significantly, because they are not playing within one single industry of, books, but rather playing with different arenas. So this is quite a good example, and we feel there is an opportunity for tourism brands to do something like this. So Explore would be the arena for tourism. This is the natural arena. What we see is that Explore has different aspects and definition. When we have defined or identified Explore is about last of life. It's about explore, brands, awaken, inspire, and fulfill our desire for the unknown, explore is about being our most alive. So tourism brands is all about this, right? So we have identified 6 explore brand narratives, and we have illustrated those 6 narratives with 6 examples of brands that we have worked with. So the first one would be, explore brands are self-explanatory guides, that brands that help us explore clear, first and foremost, what the journey will be. And this is an example of a brand, hotel brand that we did in Patagonia in Argentina, but it has 4 destinations already, 4 hotels. What they do is they offer you very immersive experiences. Again, the hotel is completely embedded into the landscape, and they allow you to find yourself, to make the most out of your potential and the benefits. And what they do is they buy land, and they make sure that the land that they buy, they protect it. So this is how a brand like Explore is pushing for a narrative, allowing you to explore yourself and settle down and explore the world around you. This would be one narrative. Another example of a very recent project that we did in Sydney. This was a rebranding for a harbor. Sydney is very dependent on the icon of the Sydney Opera House. So this client, this is another part of another harbor. How can we do how can we make a statement? So second narrative would be the power of a storytelling, and this is how we have used the whales, as a iconic symbol and created narratives around that, and a museum of different whale tales that populate the space and give you and allow artists, 30 different artists, to tell the story about the harbor. So another narrative. Then also beyond interaction, brands can transform the standard interaction in moments of delight, discovery, and wonder. This is a very recent example from Meliá, and this is one of our clients, and they had a partnership with Rafa Nadal, the tennis player. So they both together came and created and crafted a new brand called Cell, which really offers you an immersive experience in the Mediterranean lifestyle. So again, it's more than the logo. It's more, it's how the brand is set up, how the type of activities you find at the hotel, all these things. A fourth narrative is, tennis competition. Brands that help us explore are ultimately competing for people's time, which is the tail of the bottom. So when we created this campaign, Britain is great. It wasn't only about the destination. Great Britain as a tourism destination, but also business. So it's not competing against other tourism brands, but also against all other investment brands, right, or educational brands, because also Great Britain has the best universities. So we managed to create this ecosystem for the company and for the brand. And the last 2 examples would be this is the Discover. This is it offers a 360 experience. This is a points, the loyalty program by GHA hotels. So instead of giving you points, it will give you experiences. So you can redeem your points with the experiences. And it was a success. It represents more than 600 hotels around the world. And what we did is we reinvented the narrative. So making sure it was quite immersive, and really reframe the standards of our loyalty programs for hotels and airlines. And lastly, last but not least, feel it. Brands that want to help explore have to start with how people should feel and shape their life experiences around that. We feel that Saudi Arabia is doing an amazing job and leading with brands that are really groundbreaking. How, from Sada Beach to Red Sea to India to the Rig. I don't know if you are familiar with these experiences, but these are groundbreaking, and it's really interesting to see how these are crafted around specific needs of the ultimate consumer. So to summarize what we have presented, brands have never been so relevant. They are more important than ever. Their narratives need to be immersive. People want to relate to it like never before. Leadership is a new era of branding. People expect brands to be leaders to give back to society, to have a positive role. The moves that brand make, they need brands need to keep and be ahead of the curve and need to be always surprising and fresh and new to be relevant and to stay relevant over time. Arenas, we're not competing in industries, we're competing in arenas. So let's make sure that we're looking to the sites and making sure that our competitor or whoever is taking business out of our business is not coming from the same industry but other industries, and finally explore as the arena that is most relevant to tourism brands. Okay, so I'll leave it here and I'm going to give you now the word to Marcelo, Michael, and Pedro, who will be discussing a little bit of these subjects. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.